Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Semex Proof webinar. My name is Jay Shannon. I'm VP of Marketing and Solutions, and I'm pleased to be joined today by the genetic leaders of our Semex Holstein program, Paul Trapp, Manager of External Product Development, and Mike West, Product Development Specialist. Welcome, gentlemen. And we're delighted to also have with us our Jersey Program Manager, Jonathan Merriam. Good morning to you, Jonathan. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, we encourage you to use the Q&A icon at the bottom of your Zoom window, and we will strive to respond to most questions before the end of the webinar. Proof Week is a monumental week for all genetic companies, and by this time of the week, most of us are a little exhausted. But we're really honored today to be able to share our excitement about the many great achievements of Semex Genetics. And this week, there wasn't a lot of proof change as far as the system changes goes on either the US or Canadian side. There was proof re-rankings and some adjustments in terms of that. But the real talk of the farm say is what's changed in immunity. The next generation Immunity Plus was brought to the market this week. A real advancement in terms of the power that it brings to dairymen. World's best health index and what it can do to reduce the incidence of disease. And I'm going to talk about it later, but it certainly is the biggest news of the Proof Week. One thing I'd like to share with you is some work that was done, and one thing to say is fertility has been a really big focus of the company for many years. Have been working toward the focus to really be the #1 fertility company. So Fertility First is our brand. We looked at the top 1,500 TPI bulls and then those bulls that have an SCR evaluation. And what you can see from the chart is where Semex stacks up, and bulls that have a high SCR, so SCR being sire conception rate. So fertility of the semen, Semex certainly stacks in the top of the group in terms of the percentage of our bulls that have 1.0 or higher on SCR. In that particular graph, obviously we're leading the group, but you can see we're certainly in the top group. And then when you look at overall average, the distinction really starts to show through in terms of Semex bulls versus our competitor bulls. Our average somewhere around 0.7 of all our bulls in the top 1,500, and the most important part, of course, is if for semen fertility is with the genetics that you're using, with the top genetics, and how good is the fertility with the top genetics. So our CEO often says, what gets focused gets results, and we're quite proud of the results that we're seeing in our fertility of our product line. Another observation and that we wanted to bring forward before I hand off to the Holstein guys is, the concerns on the farm have always been, as long as I've been in the business, towards inbreeding, or concern that maybe the relationships, the number of bulls that come from the same sires, the options available. I am an advocate mostly towards the genetic progress, the means in the business genomically, to find lethals and problems, that inbreeding is not really a problem. It's something that can be managed, and managed well for the benefit of all. But the one thing how do we keep managing that is looking for alternatives of pedigree diversity, looking for different assortments of bulls and maternal grandsires. And I know that Semex has spent a lot of its effort really looking at all the females that it buys, the females that it establishes matings with, looking for alternative bloodline as much possible. And what you can see, if we look at each stud and look at their top 200 TPI bulls, and then look at how many sires are represented in terms of that group, and what you can see in the yellow bar is the number of unique sires that are amongst those, and Semex leads the pack with 47 different sires of sons represented by our top 200. And then in the blue line is the number of different maternal grandsires, and Semex stacks the second highest number of maternal grandsires. I think our number was 58, if my memory's right, or is it on that screen? Yes, it is 58. And then when you look at the number of unique sires, either a sire or a maternal grandsire, so how many unique bloodlines in that the first generation or second generation, and what you see is Semex has 98, and by far the largest, and that linearly goes down by the studs, where the lowest one has about 80. So about 20% more sires than most studs. And again, I think it's of what gets focused gets results. Semex has really tried to keep its diversity in its product group as much as possible. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Paula and Mike to show us some Holstein results.
Thanks, Jay, and good afternoon, good morning, everybody. It's certainly a pleasure for Paul and I, and as well as Jonathan and Jay, to be here and highlight some of the results for you. We're going to touch base on a few bulls, but overall, as far as the proof round went, I think we saw a lot of great results. We saw a lot of stability in both LPI and TPI rankings, as well as our other international rankings. We didn't see a great number of new bulls come into the top rankings, into the lists, I think, in LPI and TPI, Paul. But what we did see was a lot of stability. And from the Semex product line, I think that's awesome to see. We saw stability on the LPI, we saw stability on the TPI, bulls that managed those ups and downs more so than the competition. And I think, as you know, over the last 3-4 days since we've talked to our distributors and customers around the world, that's something that everybody's having great confidence in and great support towards the Semex product line, to see that stability and that strength. And I think a lot of that comes from that diverse product line that Jay just talked about. The diversity in pedigrees and the diversity in types of products that we're trying to have allows us to weather those storms and maintain the stability on a proof round like this, more so than some. So Jay, if you just flip to the next slide, I want to talk about a bull that we've talked about, well, for 4 consecutive proof rounds here at number 1 in the LPI rankings, is the West Coast Alcove bull. I know we've talked about him before, and I think a bull that warrants talking about again. He's holding his position at the number 1 LPI position. Again, Paul, at 37.95. This bull's really confirmed himself as something that's really writing his page in history of the Holstein breed. He really is quite exceptional. Like I said, it's his 4th consecutive proof round at the number 1 LPI position. He is a fertility first sire, an A2 sire. Just flip back for a second, Jay. His pedigree speaks to itself. A Duke from a very good MVP, from an Epic, from a Ramos. He solidifies himself with a 3.148 pro dollar numbers, and his reliability is high, from that $1,700 in his production proof and over $1,000 in his confirmation proof. And when we go to the next slide and we look at typical daughters of what we're seeing in the field, and we compare it to the numbers of what we see in his genetic proof, it's no surprise to see what we're seeing in the field. This is a bull that has extremely hardworking cows that are a pleasure to work with. Breeders love them. They're very profitable, and that's coming from that over 2,600 kilograms of milk, 153 kilograms of fat, 103 kilograms of protein, with positive on his fat and protein deviation still. Remarkable to see positive levels like that with such extreme milk to go along with it. His daughters average here in Canada over 14,000 kilograms of milk per lactation, Paul. I think that's an incredible number. When we talk about proven sires today and what our breeders are asking for, and that's that balance and that production and that level of genetics that performs. And we see that coming from West Coast Alcove through his dairy strength of plus 14 on dairy strength, adding that chest width that I think so many breeders are asking for to get added back into their matings of plus 14 chest width. And he adds that right amount of curve to their leg. I think we still hear a lot of talk, a lot of chatter about set of rear leg. And this is a bull that's going to add some curve to that hock, I think, which is really well appreciated, all combined with great width and capacity of mammary system. A bull that's here to stay. He's really made his mark in the history, I think, Paul, and really excited to talk about West Coast Alcove again at the number 1 LPI position.
Next, across the border, we'll talk about Pine Tree Pursuit, another bull that's no stranger to our friends and family at Semex and our customers around the world. A bull that you can find at the top end of the TPI list, the last 3 proof rounds. He currently ranks number 12 on the proven bulls This time he gained a lot of daughter information and held beautifully. He gained 500 milking daughters. That pushes him over 700 milking daughters around the world. And he gained 277 scored daughters to go over 350. So really a big proof day for Pursuit. He held right in there. Just as a note, Mike, as we looked across the industry this week, roughly if you're doing a ranking, bulls soften, maybe the average bull soften about 10 net merit and 10 TPI points. So Pursuit added all that information and technically held exactly where he was. As we look deeper into his type daughters scored this time, he had a beautiful round. Again, 277 daughters scored, so 350 in his proof. He went up a 1/4 point on type, so he ranks at 1.55 on type. He went up on udders, a 0.3. So now he's over a 1.18 on udders. And he went up on foot and leg almost 3/4 of a point to 1.36. I looked at some proven bulls throughout the industry. So if you're looking for a bull to add some milk, say 1,400 pounds of milk, what's good overall type, a 1.5 on type, and yet be plus on TPI or plus on DPR, Pursuit's one of 2 proven bulls in the whole industry that can get that done for you. So as we go to the next slide, Jay, this is a bull when you remind him of his pedigree, he's an IMAX son. And IMAX, when you look at him still today, is still a bull that's over a point on type and 1,500 pounds of milk and a very customer satisfaction bull. And we'll note our good friend Timberlake, another IMAX son, ranks at number 14 on the TPI list. So 2 IMAX sons, 2 bulls. All 3 of those bulls are customer satisfaction. When you look deeper into IMAX's pedigree, into Pursuit's pedigree, an IMAX son out of a Profit, out of a Super Sire, all bulls that confirmed and did very well in large herds and commercial operations for throughout the world, and backed by the globally popular Rudolph Missy cow family. The proof is in the pudding when you look at the daughters, and then and in his linear and daughters scored. This is another bull, Mike, much like Alcove. He adds slope to the rump, set to the leg, very shallow udders, and also adds some teat length. So this bull's still over a 1.5 on type, over a point on udders, and just beautifully balanced frames. And they walk very athletically. When you see them stride out, you talk to dairymen, they just love the daughters. They're balanced, they're complete, and they're kind of the ideal commercial cows that spell profit for their owners.
Yeah, that's great, Paul. He's certainly an exciting bull to talk about, and here we've got another exciting bull, Paul, that I think you and I are both quite excited about to talk about this interesting achievement, this amazing achievement. He's been around for a while on the proven front. There's no question about that. But last week we were pretty honored to have classifiers from Holstein Canada come through the barns here in Guelph and score a large group of bulls, and we finished the day with Milari Fuel coming in and punching up the score at excellent 97. Fuel, Paul, is he's only the 5th bull in the history of the breeding here in Canada to get that achievement of excellent 97. We've watched this bull develop since he was a young calf. He's always been extremely impressive, and he's just an exceptional bull out here in the barns. I'd just love to work with him and see him. A great disposition of a bull, bred by the great herd in Rice, Minnesota, Milari Farms. They should be very proud, and congratulations to them on breeding this bull. Another Duke son. We didn't get a lot of Duke sons, Paul, but the ones we got, I think we've done very well with and rank right up there with our proven Duke sons. Out of an excellent King Boy, excellent Mogul, excellent Super. It's a great herd there at Milari Farms, and this bull and Fuel. It's one that we're very, very proud of to see him come through with this excellent 97, great achievement. Like I said, only 5 other bulls in the history have done it. This is a bull that's extremely wide. He excels in his dairy strength. He's got exceptional feet and legs for a bull of his size and mass and length. And we see that transmitting into his progeny, Paul. And to see him do 97 and then still transmit the numbers he's doing, Jay, if we go to the next slide and we look at a couple of his progeny and the photos that we've got, Paul used the term earlier, proof is in the pudding, and I think we're seeing that in the Fuel progeny as well. When we look at his numbers he's almost 3,400 on LPI, he's just under 2,000 kilograms of milk with 115 of fat and 69 of protein, and he still puts together that great combination of plus 11 conformation and plus 17 dairy strength. We still get asked for a good, strong, proven sire, and this is a bull that can do it. When we look at our proven sire list here in Canada, Fuel is the only bull on the proven lineup to be over 1,900 kilograms of milk, be over 11 for conformation, and have that positive milking speed. I think dairymen today are really asking us about milking speed. Paul, we talk about it every day or every week when we look at our young bulls that we're bringing in, and to have a proven bull come through with those great attributes as well, and to be the highest ranking one and be the only one on that top listing is quite remarkable. But when we look at the fuels, Fuel today has over around $3,000 in his Canadian production proof, $2,400 in his confirmation. Great reliability in those numbers and what we're seeing in the field. When we talk to the breeders and our field guys, they really love the fuels they've seen. They really love them for their width. They really love them for their depth and their strength, like what was expected from what we saw on him and what we see in the numbers. And then he puts together really strong attachments in his udders too, Paul. And you see it on these three. Yes, I saw it in the pedigree of, the cow family behind him when visiting that farm in Minnesota. This is a great, great cow family. It's a great pedigree, and it's a great proof and great results that we're seeing through. Come from an excellent 97-point bull, quite an achievement, once in a lifetime possibly to be able to get it done. Really remarkable results, and we're really excited here at Semex to be a part of this page in history.
Yeah, that's a great accomplishment for Fuel, not only for the breeder, for Semex, but also our great team that take care of him every day. So a great accomplishment on him. That's a total team effort. Next, I'm going to talk about some bulls that are high-ranking GTPI sires that are available around the world. This is an impressive group of bulls. It's fun for me to see a bull like Seamer's Brave on here. A bull that has continued to do well. The bull that I said is a Timberlake son. I mentioned earlier, Timberlake got milking daughters this time. He's number 14 on the TPI list. And you go back on the bottom side of Brave's cow family, no stranger to the friends at Semex. Goes right back into the heart of Goldwyn's cow family. Also mentioned Brave's dam. Runs in the big herd there at Seamer's and milk over 3,500 cows. And at 3 years and 3 months of age, she made just shy of 58,000 pounds of milk. She's a trajectory daughter, and we know they milk hard, combined with the type of Goldwyn's cow family. And Brave actually went up right at 30 TPI points this time, Mike. That's his highest GTPI to date. He's one of the rare bulls in the breed that's over 2,200 pounds of milk, 3/4 of a point in type, and almost right at 2 points on udder composite. So huge udder composite, huge milk, and the highest ranking that he's been, backed by the great Gypsy Grand cow family. Another bull that continues to do well is a bull that's been out for a little while. That's on this list is the West Coast Early Bird Bull. This bull sired by Einstein, and Einstein had a very nice start to his proof. He ranks in the top 35 bulls of the breed on TPI with milking daughters, and he goes back to the popular Man-O-Man Halo cow family, developed out east, and yet another bull that's over 2 points on udder composite. As we look at this list of bulls, Brave's on here, and 4 of his sons, Forward, Maastricht, Ballot, and Kronk. As we look at this group of 10 bulls, these bulls average right at 30-40 TPI. They average just short of 1,100 net merit, just short of 1,500 pounds of milk, average over a point on type, and pushing 2 points of udder composite. And they're all in this whole group. Many of them are A2, and they average right at break even for DPR. All 10 of these bulls, we're proud to say that the internal and external team have used the Sire of Sons, and you'll see more of them coming up. And all 10 of these bulls have a different maternal grandsire. So it's a pretty exciting list of bulls here that rank well on TPI. They have the diversity of pedigree on the bottom side. They have the balance of milk, net merit, and they also, this group, 6 out of these 10 bulls on this list, Mike, this is the highest TPI that they've had to date. So available, look the best that they have. And many of them, as we talked about just a little bit, their maternal grandsires getting milking daughters, and it's helped them to be at their highest ranking to date. So an exciting group of bulls.
Yeah, great group, Paul. And I think those are some great points to see those bulls continue to do well. And if we shift gears and we look at some LPI sires on the next slide here, Paul, and I think we've done these slides different ways when we do these webinars and presentations, and we could do a lot of different sorts and do a lot of different filters and try and show you some top ranking bulls. Today, we've chosen to show you guys the top ranking overall LPI sires and overall TPI sires in our group. But we could filter this down and select something that's specific to what your needs are. But when we look at this group of strictly our highest 10 genomic LPI sires available today, I think it represents that that solid group, that great group of genetics that you can find here at Semex with diverse pedigrees, diverse breakdowns of numbers, and really like I said, that diverse market segmentation of kind of bulls that we're looking for across our markets. When we look at this listing of bulls, there's some names on here that I think are highly recognizable in a bull like Ranger. We've talked about him extensively over the last year. A bull that's ranked, he was ranked #1, black and white, red and white, just genomic LPI sire for a long time. He's had great amount of dominance in the LPI rankings. And now we're seeing him still maintain that level up there as a high ranking LPI sire himself. But now, Paul, we're also starting to see his progeny show up on some lists. Those early calves that were first born through the winter months of 2021 and into 2022. And today he actually has 2 of his own sons. When you go on CDN and look at all ages of bulls, he has 2 sons in the top 5 for LPI, which is quite an accomplishment already for a young bull. And Paul, we know when we look at our list, we got a lot of great Ranger sons coming. And I think, his page in history is only getting started. We're only on the first couple lines of his page, and he's really going to write a great chapter in the Holstein history books, I think, for sure. Other bulls on this list, a pair of full or maternal brothers there in Claynook Cracker and Claynook Crockett by Manhattan and Mezzoforte out of a Renegade cow. The Renegade cow down at Claynook, she is the #4 GLPI cow currently in Canada. A very good cow in her own right, then a very good Outlast, excellent Spring, excellent Bombero. Just to talk about the diversity in pedigrees and the strength in pedigrees in these bulls, Cracker and Crockett are great examples of not only are they genomically high and have a great profile of balanced production, health traits, and conformation, but they also have the pedigree to go with it. When we move down that list and we look at a bull like Higher Ransom Angle, an Immunity Plus sire himself, what a pedigree behind this bull to go along with his numbers. He goes back to the Oman Mirror cow family, Paul. But if you haven't looked at that family recently, there's 13 generations of very good or excellent behind this bull. It's continued to breed strongly all the way through as it's been passed around and sold throughout the world in sales and embryo sales and live sales. Amazing accomplishment the way this cow family's kept breeding. An Angle is one that I think we're really excited about. A bull that got used as a mating sire as well. Really excited to see him get out there and get available. Today, Angle would be the #1 bull available with double-digit feet and legs and over 1,000 kilograms of milk. I think a combination of things that we get asked for a lot by breeders to try and keep that foot and leg up there, but not sacrifice anything on our production traits as well. When we look at other sires on the list like Alma Mater, an Alcove son, we see Alcove's influence that we talked about earlier. Now we see it coming through in his sons and maternal grandsons as well. A very, very popular bull in Alma Mater that's sold worldwide. And then bulls like Progenesis Pillar that are more of a recent release. Pillar's the #1 LPI sire for bulls that are over 1,000 kilograms of milk, over 8 on conformation, and over 10 on mammary system. And I put together that stat, Paul, because I think those are traits that represent that balance. Our breeders that are using the LPI formula really want that balanced kind of cow. And I think when we talk about mammary system conformation and production, that really ticks a lot of those boxes, and he comes through ranking quite high there. When we look at this group of bulls, not only is 5 of this top 10 LPI sires available at Semex, they're Immunity Plus bulls as well. And Jay's going to talk more about immunity and things that the changes that have come through this round with it. But pretty crazy to still see that great level of genetics and that Immunity Plus high immune response coming through in a great group like this as well. This group, in a summary of just like I said, our top 10 average over 1,100 kilos of milk. They average 7 on conformation, and they average 108 on herd life. So I think my take-home point here is Semex is still trying to put together that great group of diverse lineup, ones that can touch on a lot of different market segments and add that balance and longevity and profitability that I think we know our customers are looking for worldwide.
Yeah, that's an exciting group of bulls, certainly, Mike. As you know, every week we look at rankings, and that's the next slide here, Jay. And Jay, you talked about this at the beginning, and kind of to tie in the rankings of how we look at things, the diversity that we have. Our external and internal team looks at this. How do we rank across the industry? We have one of the highest ranking groups of young bulls. So this would include young bulls to bulls that would have semen It's a very elite group of bulls. To be basically in the top 200 GTPI, you have to be over 3,100 GTPI. And not only do we talked about some great proven bulls like Alcove and Pursuit and some other bulls that rank well on LPI or on GTPI that I covered here recently. This is kind of the next generation. So we're excited about the group bulls in this group when they make semen to use them as sire sons. But rest assured, we have a strong pipeline and it looks good for the future. Next, I want to talk about our fast start program. A lot of times, sometimes we, wonder what's up and coming. We talked about some bulls on the GTPI list. This is a group of fast start bulls. Again, 3 out of these 4 bulls are brave sons that have done quite well. Actually, all 4 of these bulls, including Overdue, went up on their GTPI. So this is the highest GTPI that they've been available at. Available to customers through our fast start program. This is a really fun group of bulls. They've been all used very heavily throughout our program. We're starting to see the first Overdue sons being born and getting genomics back, and that's been very favorable. And we'll look forward to these brave sons if they follow the pattern of him to have that history. And we also have diversity to use multiple brave sons in our program. This group is interesting as well as you look at it from an average standpoint. These 4 bulls average right at 3075 GTPI, right at 1150 net merit. They're also very high component in combined fat and protein at 165 pounds of combined fat and protein. And with all that production and percents, they also average right at 1.7 for udder composite, and they average positive for DPR. So a fun group. When you look at the linear side of things, they also are bulls that make the modern kind. They average break even for stature, break even for teat length, and solid on their foot and leg composite as well. We've talked quite a bit about those bulls. The next bulls, as people kind of are in the summer show season mode or got purple fever or going to their county fairs, we got some real exciting bulls. The Bullseye bull, I think we touched on last time. He's available this time. A bull that Mike talked about, Fuel going 97 points. The classifiers scored this bull, made him 86 out of the gate. And I believe the comment I wrote down from the classifiers that Mike, you shared, they just love the bull and they can't wait to see him mature. And maybe someday he might be the next bull to be 97 points. It'd be no surprise based on his cow family. He's got oodles and oodles of All-Americans back into his pedigree. He's got oodles back to Black Rose, who was a champion at the Royal, a deep pedigree behind him. And when you look at his information, he's 16 on confirmation, outstanding udders. And yet with that high confirmation, the thing I like about it, Mike, is he's not getting it all from stature. He's only a +6 stature bull. In the US, he's 3.3 on type, and he's only 2.2 on stature. So that's coming from great udders, some width, substance. He's got a very balanced linear pattern with a nice level of mount. And his mother, I saw her recently. The summer is fresh again. She was the All-American Junior 2 last year. Looks tremendous, and we look forward to hopefully seeing her in October. Another great cow family that's done Semex great over the years, Comstar, the Lori Sheik cow family. And Lamagic is the most modern version of that cow family. He's a Stanton's chief son who's been very popular throughout the globe. It's a type bull. His mother is in a beautiful, balanced impression daughter that could live in any environment in the world, backed by a Dorman, Goldwyn, and then Black Star, and right back to Lori Sheik herself. This bull comes through at 13 on confirmation with very nice udders as well. And again, a bull that's not extreme on his stature. He's only 2.5 in the US on stature and +8 in Canada, but a great pedigree, great timing on him. And Lamagic too, a bonus for him is he is an A2 bull. So Fast Start is a great program that we've used these bulls as mating sires. It's a chance for our customers to now use these fun, exciting bulls that rank extremely well in the breed.
That's great. Yeah, and then just to summarize our Holstein lineup, Paul, I think when we look at Jay's going to go into some Immunity Plus slides here as well now too, but we just put up this slide to highlight, our five top Holstein Immunity Plus levels. And when you look at them, and a lot of these bulls could easily appeared on some of the slides we already did, Paul, but when you see bulls like Milari at 117 down to the vital signs at 115, great levels for Immunity Plus levels, high immune response levels. and to go with them, great genetics as well from a lot of those cow families that we just talked about in our previous slides. So exciting times here at Semex with a great Holstein lineup, and we look forward to what the future holds for us.
Great, thank you, Mike. Thank you, Paul. And so, as I said, I'm going to go on with about some summary of immunity, and I plan on highlighting, and it's hard to highlight something that has so many components to it. So I'm going to highlight through the immunity section, and I can see there's one question so far. So I would encourage, again, any questions you have regarding the product lineups or anything you see in today, that to please encourage to ask some questions. So again, the next generation of Immunity Plus is the talk of the week. The power that it gives the breeders to make improvement in health really changes the game in terms of health selection like no other index in the world, and we're extremely proud to be bringing this to the marketplace. The really nice feature is that it's full publication of immunity proofs, both immunity index and calf immunity index on all our Semex bulls, Holstein, Jersey, and Ayrshire. And also, if you test your females genomically with Elevate, you get the immunity indexes. And again, when you see the KPI, the power of those indexes and how impactful they are to select for to create healthier animals, then that's a really great feature for our bulls and for people using the Elevate service. So how did we go about building the best health index in the world? And what we took was that the quantifiable measure and the foundation of the true response to foreign pathogens to the body in terms of our immune response, antibody-mediated immune response, cell-mediated immune response that have been part and foundation of our Immunity Plus system here at Semex. And then a new feature I'm going to describe on the next slide, which is adding to the immunity side, called nitric oxide production, which is addressing the innate immunity of the animal. And when we launched immunity, there was no disease traits essentially in the industry, except for, say, somatic cell count was something that was the closest. And today, all the various sources have different means of measures in terms of health indexes and health trait indexes, disease indexes. And what you would say is that as much as there's a lot of data in them, and if we go to any farm's data, and what that is based on is entered data from producers, and anytime you go through farm data, you can see that some herds will be, the diagnosis of animals to the different diseases may be by treatment rather than actual diagnosis. There may be some misinterpretation of diagnosis. There can be inconsistency where they're evaluating the traits and then stop evaluating the trait and then evaluating the trait going forward. So this is kind of what I would call the noise in the data that the genetic evaluation has, and it's probably the biggest limiting factor to herds that want to select on disease traits like health trait index or wellness index. Is the limiting factor is the noise in these parts. Is not to take away from the value and of what it does, but that's the weakness of them. And then so what we did to try to address those weaknesses is we said, let's say the CDCB evaluation for mastitis, the CDN lactanet evaluation in Canada for mastitis, and the Zoetis evaluation for mastitis, all based on independent data. And if we blended them together, then what we're doing to some degree is taking the noise out, because the odds are they don't have the same direction of noise, say. So that what we're trying to get is the greatest measure of accuracy of every single disease that we can by combining the different sources. So if we take all our genetic measures of immunity and all our genetic measures of disease traits that we have, then what we did was we said, well, let's grab a clean data set of health records. And we selected over 100 herds, over 330,000 animals, where they have really good health recording. And you can just glance at a herd and look at its data over time and tell the herds, okay, there's a lot of precision in these observations. And so we took this cleanest set of data we can as our reference population. And then we said, let's try to take this actual farm data and let's optimize for the lowest cost of disease, considering the occurrence of the disease and then how much the disease costs in terms of on the dairy. And so if we optimize on the lowest cost part of disease, and then what is the genetic predictor of the lowest cost of disease, then we let the model run to say, what is the combination of immunity and health traits in these parts that make for the optimum? And that's what we went through to do. And I can tell you that immunity is about 54% of the whole package, and the disease traits are about 46% of the whole package, with mostly the disease parts on mastitis and metritis is two of the most heavily weighted. The lameness component comes a lot from the immunity, but it's an all-encompassing max result that, and why we're so confident we can say the best health index in our industry. And I'm going to talk a little on just one slide here on nitric oxide and try and cover it. But what happened was the University of Guelph, basically nitric oxide has been found to be a critical component in immune response, especially the first line of defense, the innate immune system. And the University of Guelph identified several SNPs that explain a significant portion, almost all explanation of nitric oxide production. And so when an animal has no favorable alleles, then it's particularly just devastating to that heifer as being nitric oxide deficient. And that process of being nitric oxide deficient leaves the animal having significant immune disadvantage. And so the trait itself, and the one thing is, in about 2% of the animals have no favorable alleles. Now, I would also say that if an animal only has one favorable allele, then it's one away from being none. So genetically, it's a concern animal, though its production may not be as devastating to the animal at this stage. So anyway, we've acquired the exclusive rights to this technology to add with our immunity part, and you can see from this table that this lowest category, the 2% of animals that have no favorable alleles, in essence, 46% higher cases of mastitis, 41% higher metritis, 78% higher lameness, 89% higher ketosis. So in essence, what it's saying is if you have no nitric oxide production, then you're basically, the innate immune system is not being cued, and without being cued is not even prompting the other parts of our immune system. So this is what's putting this animal at an extreme deficit going forward. So it's the combination of these, and what we did was research that showed us basically, and the first part was, if we look at animals that are one standard deviation and higher, or what we would call immunity plus sires, and so just to show us first, the previous immunity, with just based on the immune response, is actually outperforming industry indexes. You can see higher in mastitis and lameness and total immunity, the total disease reduction that's there, and then the other traits. And you can see the value of the genetic traits across selection for disease. But our original immunity was already performing as well or better than those two indexes. So, but not to rest on our laurels and really look to say, what's the optimum? We took the approach we talked about, where we're optimizing the combination of disease and immunity. And as expected, you could see this will outperform all. And the significance in terms of mastitis and lameness, two critical components, and then ketosis, and you can see the switch on really making improvement on metritis as well. And then overall disease impact of 29% reduction in disease just by having one generation of an immunity, in essence, an immunity plus sire with this optimal index. And how does that apply to genomic females? As expected, the genomic female is higher self. And a daughter of an immunity plus bull is, well, what's the dam and what's the outcome and how much improvement can they make? The genomic is the animal is higher self in her own measure. So how does that help her? And you can see 43% less mastitis, 41% less lameness, 38% less DAs, 9% less metritis, and 33% overall, is again showing us the power that there's nothing in the industry that compares to what our new immunity does in terms of making healthier animals. And many of the reasons are what we're doing, but many of the reasons also relate to the heritability that exists. And we know the immune response, the collective immune response, is controlled by up to 5,000 genes. So it's like any trait. It's a continuous additive trait based on a combination of genes. And so what we're doing constantly is trying to improve the genes, to improve the responses, to make healthier animals naturally. And our immune response, we know is over 30% heritable. And then when we add the nitric oxide, which is 70, but we add the disease traits are less heritable. But again, heritability isn't the only measure. It's the combination that makes for good immunity and the biggest impact. And so our combined trait is 22% heritable, which is a really good number to select from, and the impacts that it has is why it's so successful. One component, calf health and cow health are not necessarily the same, meaning that when we optimized our index, we noticed that it maybe wasn't performing as well on the calf side. And when we tried to help the calf side, it was not doing as well on the cow side. So we found that, what we need to do is have two indexes, an immunity index and a calf immunity index. So we strove to repeat the same research. And what you can see if you look at daughters that have bulls that are 105 and higher versus the herd, and what we can see is the previous immunity and its performance. And the previous immunity was actually doing extremely well on calf health. And so it was really just a component of adding a little feature of calf disease traits that helped it a little. And you can see the calf immunity index at 32%. And it's always been known, one of the observations we've heard over the last 10 years is you can really see immunity in the calves and how much more thrifty and how much more healthy they are and how they don't pick up a pathogen that others may have picked up in the herd. So what we can say is we're strengthening the calf side and giving you the specificity to select for it. And high immunity has always been known and continues the strength in terms of vaccine response and higher quality colostrum. So a greater adaptive immune response. The same component is the response to a vaccine from first sight, say. So that makes sense that the vaccine response and the efficiency. We know that about 20% of animals actually struggle or have limited or no response to vaccines, and high animals have somewhere 4% or less. So the effectiveness of vaccine is improved with immunity. The colostrum quality, so these high immune animals that not only are benefiting themselves, they produce more antibodies towards their colostrum for their calves to help that early immunity for your young calves. So it's an all-around benefit that happens. And so it's not surprising when we can get the disease impact a significant reduction as it is, and then we look at overall economic impact, that we see numbers that are extremely impressive. And why selection for this, no matter what your selection goals are, you really need to include immunity index in those selections. So we took the incidence reductions with the frequencies in the populations and the cost of disease to calculate the savings potential through genetic selection. And daughters of immunity plus bulls over average would be $147 advantage over the average of the herd per point, if we booked it to a per point. So we know that the mean is 100 on these indexes, as we've seen, but per point is $23 per point. So a 110 bull would be worth $230 more than a 100 bull, is the example of how you would manage and use that. High immunity genomic females versus whole herd, again, they have the benefit and a bigger reduction in the sense that they're high themselves. $217 advantage on females that are 105 and higher. On a per point basis, $33 per point, and these are all in US dollars, is the advantage in when you look at comparing animals. And so you can see from this, what we're going to be working on is is incorporation of immunity indexes into your client indexes in our solutions. In the magnitude of these, it's hard to say, but I know preliminary research is somewhere around 12 to 15% of the index should be in this immunity index going forward, and that's what we're looking toward. So really proud this week to introduce immunity and calf immunity indexes on all our Semex sires, and our Elevate tested females were just released last night. And so people would see those results for the first time. We have a fixed base for immunity from 2000 bulls born 2014 to 2016. Using a bull base is, if you think about it, bulls that enter stud are a very select group. So using a bull base is a very high standard, and versus an overall population cow base, for example. We set that group to a mean of 100 and a standard deviation of 5. And then we're going to change the base when the US changes their base, the next one scheduled for 2025. Immunity plus bulls will still be categorized. Immunity index greater than or equal to 105 and a calf immunity greater than or equal to 100. Just to understand, there's no magic bullet at 105. It's a continuous trait, an additive trait, that just like any other, it really is just a benchmark of a threshold to categorize the bulls that kind of sit above the rest of the population. So that's where we do, but certainly a bull that's 104 is 1 point away from 105. It's an extremely strong bull for immunity. So that's the measures you really have to think in terms of immunity index versus a brand. Bulls must requalify for immunity plus each run. We will rerun the entire systems each run with all the new disease traits, all the updated immune responses, and bulls must requalify. And if they don't, they won't keep the brand. So that's where you'll see going forward. What do they look like? And this is the one bull that one of the bulls that Mike and Paul talked about was Pursuit, and Pursuit is our top TPI bull and right up there in terms of ProDollar and LPI on the list for Semex. And you can see he formerly wasn't an immunity plus. He's 106 now, so he's an immunity plus bull, 103 calf immunity. But that's where you're going to see it on our proof sheet, on our sheets going forward in terms of how you see on the bulls and the showcase that you would have for it. As far as what it looks like on the Elevate side, the immunity and the calf immunity are there. They would be in Excel files in all your parts. For those that use the portal, it will be highly effective. You click on the immunity section and you can see the herd I'm showing, and I didn't show their I put a little block on their prefix but they probably would want me to show because this is a herd that's done incredibly well, averaging 103.4 on immunity, 104 on calf immunity, and the progress that's been made. This is a herd that's been committed to the health of animal and selection and in terms of what they're progressing. So, I mean, really great examples of the potential of what you can do in terms of using immunity for your female selection. Impact on immunity plus bulls. So when we're going to make a change and a change of improvement, we're going to see changes in terms of what's been done to the past, and accept and understand the principles that what we're making is, are we sure that we're making steps forward that are progress, and we're really confident in terms of what this is better than anything that's in the world towards health of animals. So the part is, let's make the change and then let's try to explain the differences that exist. So in the past, if I look at our actively, or what is active kind of marketed bulls categories, the previous immunity, there was 25% that were immunity plus out of the bulls. Under the new immunity index, 33% are immunity. Just to give us a bit in the numbers, we maintained, out of the 232, we maintained 139 of them kept their immunity status, but 93 of them lost their immunity status. And at the same time, we added 172 bulls that became immunity plus. And so there's more bulls getting immunity plus here in terms of the quantity. But remember the slide a couple previous, they're outperforming anything in the industry. So even though there's 33% of them, look at the benchmark of what the achievement is to what these bulls do, is what's really impressive. Number of animals over 100 in our lineup, 72% of our bulls. What it showcases is Paul and Mike and the product development team and what they've been selecting for. This is the Holsteins I'm showing here, of course, but it shows the progress of what we've made for immunity and our selection for immunity, and that we've already really essentially had a immunity lineup that's been developing in its benefit. And the 93 bulls that lose immunity, 72% of them have an immunity index greater than 100. A big portion of them, I think about 58, 59%, have a 102 or higher. So 104, 103, 102 in terms of their index. The bulls that are below 100 are the ones oftentimes that need some explanation or some component of explanation as to what's deriving their change. And you can see as low as 91, 92 in terms of bulls and where they've come from. We must remember we formally, the bulls were evaluated, had a proof and became a brand, and the brand never removed. And sometimes bulls were evaluated pre-genomic when we didn't have a genomic evaluation for immunity yet, and then subsequently added. So there's different explanations as to why bulls would have a little bit of a re-ranking difference for immunity. So I just want to highlight a little, since we're here on the proof week of bulls, and I just picked out notable bulls, and hard to pick out notable bulls because I think we'd all pick out different notable bulls, but bulls that lost their immunity, you can see different ones, a group of them that are all 104, Bosa and Grey Cup as a couple mid-March of bulls that lost their immunity but are only one notch below. Again, Porsche Aesthetic 103, Fuel that was mentioned there is a 101, Alligators a 101, and you can see the different ones. And obviously in the Holstein side, bulls that went below 100, a couple like that are notable in terms of Lugnut at 96 and Unix at 91. And I've got two bulls highlighted there. They're two bulls I'm going to do an explanation on in terms of what is behind their proof, to give us a good understanding of what goes on behind this proof that makes it so good, to be honest with you. And then in the Jersey side, you can see some of the popular Jersey bulls that lost their immunity status. Bulls that maintain their immunity status, and I've listed Reverso just because he's a 117. He's tied for the highest, I think, with three others at 117. Mike had it on the slide, so I can't remember. But I'm going to put him because I'm going to take you through him. You can see a group of bulls that are sitting over 110 and higher are extreme bulls for this. Ranger Red is the one I'm going to show you the proof on as well, and what's behind his proof. But really good group of bulls that are maintaining their immunity. And again, some Jersey bulls that listed there, popular Jersey bulls that are maintaining their immunity plus and have really good immunities, 109s, 108s in terms of our Jersey group. Finally, new immunity plus bulls, a couple that they mentioned on earlier strides, Overview and Overdue, two strong bulls of the Lady Manor prefix. Progenesis Bluff is a proven bull in the top 100 TPI and ranks well on the LPI as well. Maastricht is a bull that is being released, I think, as a fast start this month, and really high. And our Pursuit is a new bull that is our top TPI bull. Speed Up, a really good polled bull that has been really popular, being immunity plus, and immunity plus with health is immunity plus with polled is really good. And Mahomes, I just forgot to mention a bull that is really strongly ranked on all international indexes, and a bull that has immunity at 108. Bulls we added on the Jersey side, and Jonathan's going to highlight them, but Boss and ZZ Top are notable bulls that will soon be in the market, Monster and Colonel, but lots of excitement in terms of the quality of bulls that are added to our immunity. So I'm going to quickly, because time is of essence, take us through a few bulls, and Unix is one, and so to let us understand his immune response is 98. That is immunity today as he would be in the evaluation with nitric oxide and all the parts together. So he was just below the average on terms of immune response. Likely again, he wasn't genomic tested, or he wasn't immune genomic at the beginning. He was awarded based on his phenotype in a genetic evaluation. He's probably lost some strides in terms of immune index over time that would have obviously disqualified him to now. But we couple that with his performance in terms of his disease, and you can see he's not it's not his strong suit in terms of mastitis, and I mean he's really good on hoof health, and lameness is a strength of the bull, but some of the other indexes are where he's going to cut back on. And what this combination of the immune response at 54% of the weight with the other traits brought his index to 91 in terms of where he ranks in terms of the population. And where he ranks is compared to the Semex base group of bulls, and that can be also a daunting group because they're a very strong group for immunity. Alligator's a bull that was immunity plus as well, and he was his immunity index based solely on immunity is 104, and so he's just one notch below being an immunity plus bull. And then what you see is he's actually really good on mastitis, 107 in Canada, not quite as good on zoetis. Very good on hoof health and lameness, but where he strikes a little bit is across the board in terms of metritis and retained placenta and ketosis and some of these other diseases that hinder the bull a little bit in his overall projection in terms of his health. So this is how this kind of part is when you blend it together. He ends up 101. He's still above average overall health and immunity. But its particular specificity is he's really strong in the mastitis and lameness side, but has some components towards other diseases that have been pulling him back a little bit. As we go to Pursuit, he also is 104 on the immune response. But what you can see, mastitis at 103 and 3.2 particularly is really high for this bull. His metritis also very highly weighted with 108 on the zoetis side. You start to see where the industry indexes of CDCB at 7.8 is quite good, and the zoetis at 108, again, really strong indicators of overall health that are combined with the immune response that was in essence really close to being immunity, notches him up, and he becomes he's a 106 bull that qualifies for immunity plus, and that's what's behind a bull like Pursuit. Ranger Red, and I guess appropriately they got the O, so O Ranger Red at the front is he was a 106 on his immune response, again making him an immunity plus bull. But here's a bull that again has been doing extremely well. If you look at the disease traits, and I've got them marked in green when they're significantly above, and you can see the contributions are all green. It's a bull that's 8.6 on his health traits in CDCB, a big number 244 on his wellness traits, the combination, and when you see the bull that, they're not strong in one and a little weak in the other, they're good in all three different bases of disease evaluations, then that's really boosting the bull and having that impact with the immune to make him a 111 bull. And that's, again, an exceptional bull for health to go along with all the great things that Mike and Paul described in terms of what he brings to the market. And how do you get a 117? Well, this Reverso is an example of a bull that based on immune response is 111. And then again, you back it up with, in particular, 11.4 on CDCB health trait index, 4.8 on mammary system, 112 in Canada on mastitis, 112 on mastitis in Canada. Just a bull that right across the board is so good on all health traits combined with immune response, puts him into the 117 category. But I hope it shows you the components that are behind that really gives the confidence that you can put into the immunity indexes that are there. One thing I wanted to mention is immunity is, we talked at one of the first slides about pedigree diversity in the Semex lineup. And one thing you could be scared of is you think, okay, well, if I select for this immunity index, am I selecting all the same genetics? Because maybe the tendency is really to push that towards only certain genetics. And what's really remarkable, if you took the 295 actively marketed Immunity Plus bulls, they come from 84 different sires and from 72 different maternal grandsires. So just an assortment, I would say, of pedigrees that are bringing the Immunity Plus to the market. And so it really is the complete package, reducing disease on cows and calves, on viral and bacterial infections, on mycobacterial. It's covering the innate immunity now with the adaptive immunity, plus the colostrum component that is the passive immunity. It's a 360-degree health package in terms of what it does to improve the health of dairy animals. So with that, I'm going to hand off to Jonathan for the Jersey results. Jonathan, are you there? Okay, I think Jonathan, I'll go along and not do near as good job with than Jonathan, but some top immunity jerseys for immunity index, just to kind of carry and start with our immunity. Some of our highest within our product line: Popcorn, a homozygous polled bull at 111, a bull that was famous a little bit older in terms of David, Implicate, Soprano, Madrid, a little more recent bull, but you can see some really high indexes. Typically, when you get a smaller population like Jerseys versus Holsteins, you're going to not quite reach the tails as much as you would on a bigger population like Holsteins. But again, some extreme immunity bulls in terms of Jersey population. And Jonathan, if you join, you just jump in and take over. But he is in California, and sometimes that might be a restriction here, I guess. So. Immunity Plus bulls. I mean, I wanted to mention the Boss is a bull we syndicated that is extremely high. Okay, I think he's working on it. But anyway, he's extremely high. He's a got made by Chief, 171 JPI. I think he's the number, and if I'm not mistaken, he's number 1 or 2 on the JPI list. I think he's number 1 on the JPI list, and ZZ Top is number 2. Or they're on the cheat, or he's number 1 on the JPI, and ZZ Top's number 1 and 2 are the Boss and ZZ Top on the cheese merit list. Bulls like Monarch is a really strong bull in terms of overall performance, and you can see the immunity at 109 is quite high. Caesar's a different bull in terms of coming from Danish Sire of Sons, and a 107. The Colonel PP bull, as mentioned before, Monsters, a Clapton son, and Clapton is quite good on immunity as well. So I think Jonathan is maybe connecting now, so I'm gonna hopefully hand off to Jonathan. And Jonathan, I just covered your first slide and was stumbling through the second one, so you can take over if you're ready.
Okay, I'm ready, yes.
Go ahead.
Sorry about that. One of the challenges of living out in the country, I guess. Okay, so these are, we've been talking about the new Immunity Plus next generation, and here are the highlights. Pretty exciting when you talk about the health of the genetics that bulls can transmit, and then you look at a list like this and see some of the real high-end Jersey bulls are scoring high on immunity. Our number 1 JPI bull and cheese merit bull, the Boss, is also Immunity Plus. ZZ Top, number 3 cheese merit bull, and also the highest outcross to Chief, is also Immunity Plus. And then you continue down the list, you see a little diversity in pedigrees, but still strength of JPI and cheese merit with this new immunity evaluation. Just some real excitement in the Jersey population to know some of these high-end genetics are also elite on their immune response genetics. So been an exciting week with this new information as we continue to look at it and how it impacts the Jerseys. So by way of the proven bulls, some highlights this week. Chief was a real standout last proof round. He nearly doubled the number of daughters. He has over 2,400 in his production proof now. Did drop just a little in his JPI and cheese merit, but still is very popular with the breeders. They're happy with the daughters, and he still ranks #1 for cheese merit dollars among all daughter proven bulls. He's 3rd for JPI. And then another exciting part with Chief is he has enough daughters now milking in Canada to receive his own LPI and pro dollar valuation, of which he ranks 2nd among proven bulls for LPI and 1st in the pro dollar category. Just a tremendous bull making a tremendous impact in the Jersey breed across North America and will globally. So a couple more highlights among proven bulls. Lute continues to add more daughters, and among daughter proven bulls, he ranks 1st for fat at 89 pounds and 2nd for protein among those who are active and available with 63 pounds of protein, making him very elite in components, but also over 1,000 of milk. So a real strong production bull. And new sire with daughter proven sire is the Bionic bull, a popular bull among a variety of breeders, and he ranks in the top 50 of all proven bulls in the US, top 5 for milk at over 1,500 of milk, 1.5 on or 1.3 on type, and over 10 on JUI, putting him in the top 20 among all proven bulls in the top 50. So just a real positive day for proven bulls in the Semex lineup. Next slide shows a little about the influence of Chief. Talked a little about diversity in the Holsteins. This is something we'll have to continue to watch in the Jerseys because of the impact of Chief, but you'll see in a few slides we are looking at that. But what an impact Chief is making. His top 5 sons available through Semex average 142 JPI and 682 cheese merit. A few highlights there. Margin will be a new release. Sire out of the Listowel mac and cheese cow at River Valley, 165 JPI, 831 cheese merit. 2nd high cheese merit Jersey bull, genomic Jersey bull. Also ranking well on the LPI and pro dollar rankings. Devour is a bull that's ranked, Chief son that's ranked high for the last couple of proofs, particularly on the LPI list, still on the top 10 there, and over 650 of cheese merit. And Pretenders is a popular Chief son, high on the JPI list, also elite when you look at JUI and positive for DPR. So tremendous offering by way of sons. And the next slide has what we have available or coming by way of grandsons. I put, sorry, I messed up there this is the grandsons here. The boss is pictured there, got made out of a Chief daughter. Again, mentioned him already at 171 JPI and 843, #1 for both of those. Also extremely low on somatic cell, and as we just mentioned, an immunity plus sire. Dynamo is a polled grandson that will be available soon at 155 JPI and 770 cheese merit, over 2,000 of milk, and 8 on JUI. And Mayor is a Chief grandson out of Tenpenny, over 150 JPI and 700 cheese merit, again strong in the udders and type category. So just tremendous continued influence from Chief. And then we've got some highlights by way of females in the program. The cow pictured is actually a daughter of Chief that's been in our program for a while now, and just wanted to mention the influence that elite females can have on our program. When you see that this is actually the dam of the Boss, Mare, Monarch, Mediator, and Metallica bulls that many of you are familiar with. She also has 33 daughters genomically tested so far that were actually in our donor program, a number of those. These that are listed right here are just those that are over 700 cheese merit dollars. So just a tremendous impact that she's making in our program. And then a few younger ones just to highlight. The number 2 polled heifer in the breed, and Eisner out of Schuyler. Again, Semex influence through Schuyler at 174 JPI, 750 cheese merit, extreme on DPR at 3.6. A Chief daughter from the Jersey Gold herd at 165 JPI and 865 cheese merit. Lamb is a Chief out of a Schuyler, double influence of Semex bulls. 1636 of milk and 160 of combined fat and protein, just over 100 fat and 58 protein, just a tremendous production heifer. And then a newer one to our program, from our program, is a Latitude out of Listowel, again, double Semex bulls at 166 JPI, 770 cheese merit, plus on DPR and high on combined fat protein. A couple of these do have Chief, but you'll see a couple are not Chief, so opportunities to continue that diversity that we're working towards. When we look at cheese merit rankings on genomic bulls, Semex has the top 4 that are active genomic bulls for cheese merit, and the top 3 among active genomic bulls that are polled. Here's the highlights here. The Boss I've already mentioned. Margin at number 2, ZZ Top outcross to Chief at number 3. In our lineup, Dynamo, Dumbledore, Full Brothers, next in line, Ludicrous, another outcross, a Gallantry out of a Schuyler, Domino, a third flush mate, and then Mayor rounded up our top group for cheese merit, but just a tremendous strength in the cheese merit market for Semex. And then the next slide just shows the importance that the pole gene has in our lineup and our pipeline. This is a trait that has received emphasis from Semex for quite a while, and we're seeing the benefits from that. Mentioned the top 3 sons of this Listowel Dream cow from the Alum herd, and the impact they're making at 1, 2, and 3 for cheese merit, and 2, 3, and 4 for JPI among all genomic tested polled bulls that are available or will be within the next month. And then a few other highlights there on the right. Eisner son that's high on cheese merit, Popcorn PP son that's high on JPI and cheese merit, and then another Listowel son that's actually 5th for cheese merit among polled bulls that'll be available, and he's starting to produce semen. So just real excitement in the polled aspect of jerseys that we have here at Semex. Switching gears over to highlights in the Canadian genetic system. Semex actually has 6 of the top 10 genomic LPI sires. New highlight is Lencrest Broadband, who's also polled, ranks 2nd for LPI as well as protein dollars, or pro dollars, and is polled to boot. So number 1 in that category. The Boss and To Be Famous rounding out the top 5 in the genomic LPI range. And Semex also has all 10 of the top 10 genomic pro dollar sires. So exciting there. When we look at proven bulls in the Canadian system, Vivaldi is still number 1 on LPI and number 2 for pro dollars. And as I mentioned earlier, Chief now has enough daughters in the Canadian system to have his own evaluation. He now ranks 2nd for LPI among proven bulls and first for pro dollars. We also had 3 of the top 5 proven sires in Canada for confirmation. Joel at number 1 with 15. VIP is tied for second at 14, and Video tied for 5th at 13. So just a tremendous day in Canada as well. Many of you are already familiar with Choco Chip Bull. Continues to be strong at 15 on confirmation, 12 of mammary system, 13 feet and leg. He's also an Immunity Plus sire with new information that's come about. So not only the show type, but healthy cows and calves. And something we don't always talk about with jerseys, but I'll talk about it since Fuel with the Holsteins was brought up in his classification. Choco Chip was also recently scored and scored 89, which is the maximum for his age. So not only is he able to sire that high confirmation, but he demonstrates it through his own confirmation as well. So exciting young bull that now is producing well enough. He's no longer on allocation and has plenty of semen available, conventional and sexed. So then rounding out the LPI list among the Jersey bulls, again, strengthen our lineup with, as mentioned, 6 of the top 10 genomic LPI bulls, and all 10 of the top 10 for pro dollar bulls are at Semex. Just a few highlights here for LPI and pro doll, and the picture there, Broadband P, exciting to have one ranked so high and to have the pole gene as well. You'll notice variety of pedigrees there. Yes, Chief still has an influence, but there's outcross to Chief as well. Broadband P, the boss, to be famous, but then some influence from Contour and a new bull with Drago, the high type Takashi bull and Keynote. Just a lot of excitement in jerseys across the board. US and Canada, and with immunity, the new immunity information. Just exciting week for jerseys, and thank you for attending.
Great, thank you, Jonathan. And we are, probably because of me going a little bit late for everyone, but we just have 2 questions and on here. So if you do have a question, please type it into the Q&A box, and so we can address before we leave this afternoon. So this first question is to Mike and Paul, and I guess it's speculative, but what is the impact you expect with the bullseye in future shows? So I guess just how does that bull, and I guess his pedigree, demonstrate that he's going to be a bull to mess with in terms of his future? So
yeah, Jay, I'll take a stab at that one. We touched on bullseye. He's been a bull that we worked very hard to acquire. His mother being an Unix that was the All-American Junior 2-year-old. And that played out well for us, a cow family that's done extremely well from a maternal side, making All-Americans. When you look at the sire stack, he's a Delta Lambda son who's made a lot of popular offspring in the show ring and in the commercial world. Unix, the recent premier sire at World Dairy Expo. The next stand back is a Dorman, and Dorman's been right there being a premier sire around the globe. And then Goldwyn behind that, who's was a premier sire multiple times at World Dairy Expo. This bull is bred to make show winners. He's got from a cow family that's made lots and lots of show winners. I assume he's going to make all those show winners. He's been used on some of the most popular trademark cows of the breed, and I believe he will continue to be used that way. So we'll look forward to the first bullseye calves to be born in the early part or late this year or the early part of 2023. But I believe, and based on his linear pattern, the balance that he brings and his linear pattern, this is a bull, in my opinion, that'll get used a lot on chief bloodlines, impression bloodlines, and the King Doc bloodlines. And I think he fits those type bloodlines very well. So he's kind of tailor-made to make the next generation in the show ring.
Great, thank you, Paul. And I think this next one would be for you, Mike, and the question relates to alligator's sons. So sons of alligator, and I'm not sure how many we have, but we have some very attractive ones. But what characteristics do you see mostly manifested through his sons that are particularly exciting for the marketplace as far as sons of alligator?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, Jay. And I think currently we have about 10 alligator sons at this point, either in stud or on its way. And I don't know that there's a direct pattern in every one of them. And I think that's because as a product development team, we've tried to select some alligators from some diverse maternal lines. And I think because of that, we're not seeing them all be the same, but we still see alligator come through. When I look at the maternal grandsire on some of our alligator sons, we have Ashby represented, Randall, Gymnast, Unix. There's a Drifter on there. So, I mean, they're all a little bit different. I mean, we've even got a polled alligator son out of a hotspot dam. So, so there's a lot of diversity there in that side of the pedigree. But when we look from an alligator influence, we see that high type consistently coming through. We see strong mammary scores. And I think the other thing we see is solid production as well. Those are some of the traits that's allowed alligator himself to be popular and remain at the top of that LPI listing. And I think, Paul, I mean, when we think about our team, of the way we tried to select them, because we were offered a good group of alligator sons, we tried to split them up and try and get a range of them so that it's not just a one hit. We can have a good lineup of alligator sons to fit a variety of needs.
Great, thank you. And I haven't seen any other questions. So because we're going over a little bit, so I think we're gonna call the webinar. I would like to thank you, everyone in attendance. I'd like to thank Mike and Paul and Jonathan for their preparation and excellent work on the webinar. Again, a busy week. It's Friday. I think we're all glad it's Friday. So I would like to say have a great weekend, everyone, and thank you very much. And look forward to the next proof review when we went in 4 months. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jay.